Hello divas, dudes, and dolls, I'm Caricature, and welcome back to my ding dang dookie little review show, Very Slay, where we go over each and every floor show look from the Boulet Brothers Dragula Season 6. My golly, we are starting off with one of my favorite themes that I think should just be the first theme in every season of Dragula, and that is horror icons reimagined. Specifically, they had to use horror icons from the silver screen, limited to films. And originally I was going to do play along looks for this season, and when I first thought horror icons reimagined, the first thing I thought of like doing a fun look that would be kind of creepy to play around with that scared me a lot as a child, and many children of the 90s, would be Dead Hand from Ocarina of Time. And then I realized the limitations of it being to film, and I don't like horror movies because I'm a baby and I get scared too easily and I don't like gore. So what would I do? So I don't know if I will end up having time to do them, but I did make a cute little sketch for a Corpse Bride themed look because that's a Halloween adjacent movie at least, and like the idea of accidentally marrying a corpse and all the shenanigans that ensue at that movie is kind of horrifying, at least in concept. The sketch that I did looks really cute. I will be posting it up on Patreon, so be sure to go see that really rough little concept sketch, and we'll see if it gets turned into something much bigger and a full illustration. I would like it to. It's just very detailed, because of course it is with me. As always with this show, if I think that a look got the job done, but it wasn't anything incredible, we give it an okay. If I absolutely adore it, and it smashed it out of the park, we give it a slay. And if I think it was horrible, and not in a good way, we give it a nay. And that's all in efforts to find my weekly slay of the day, my favorite look out of every episode, which will go head to head up against our current ranked slay of the season, Grey Matter's promo look. Whichever look holds that top spot when we have crowned a new super monster will get an illustration from me at some point once I get things together and it slows down a little bit more. We'll just have to see. Also, no, I had no game plan going in on this makeup. I had brushes that were dirty and I said we're just gonna use what's on them and hope for the best. And this is what you get. And you will at least tolerate it. But as always, if you want to see even more Dragula coverage, be sure to like, comment, subscribe, all those lovely little things. I will say, I'm not doing full episode coverage like I did last season with long form reviews. If you want my opinion on the full episode, head on over to the Patreon as well. You can join for free in order to access those discussion posts. And you can tell me what you think about the episode too. With that said, let's get into these looks. Here we go. First up, we have Asia Consent, our challenge winner of the first episode this season. Very well deserved as well. She's channeling Art the Clown from the Terrifier franchise. She does it in a way that, again, is really true to form with this challenge where you can see the Art the Clown reference. You have the nose prosthetic piece here to get that very specific silhouette that he had. The black and white makeup, it's really iconic for him as well. And taking it into Asia's aesthetic space, I think is a very natural fit. Then when you take the outfit itself, all of these like little horn tentacle bits, these little tendrils, and my favorite part about this whole thing, all of the pattern clashing. I love a black and white look, and this optical illusion feast for the eyes works really, really well. The dried blood all through it, I think, is really fitting for the character as well with how gory these films tend to be. Tits and ass out. True to form to Asia with her branding, I think it was really shocking that she went so ham on the filth aspect of Dragula in the first challenge as well, not just the horror side of things. And at the same time, there's something quite glamorous about the silhouette. She really hits all three tenets of Dragula here for me. I love the trash bags around the hem of the skirt. Just this overall silhouette, super, super compelling. Really strong opening for her. Absolutely going to start her off with a slay this season. Next up, we have Anti-Heroine, and oh my goodness, you can tell she comes from a pageant family because the stoning detail on this whole look is so, so good. And I loved that she didn't just do like a normal, like Venus flytrap style plant for this. She went very artichoke-y. It's a different enough take on the plant from Little Shop of Horrors, while at the same time still being very readable as to what the look is. I think when she kind of drops the little bustle and all the little gross tendrily tentacle things come out, that was quite fun. The little pussy lip mouth jaws I thought was very fun as well. Body's correct, silhouette's correct, detailing is correct. One of my favorite looks this week. And let's again talk about how freaking stamped this mug is. Every time we see cutaway shots of Anti-Heroine, this mug is one of like the most stark standout mugs I think we've ever seen on drag television because it's so painted, it's so heavy, and it's so blended. Like you can really see this in the back row. It's immaculate. Absolutely a slay. Next up, we have my icon, my diva, Miss Aurora Gosmic, who found herself in the bottom 2 this week, unfortunately. I do have to say, I think it is a fitting placement because while she definitely delivered glamour, she definitely delivered fashion, I don't think that this really fully felt as mummy as she could have gone. I love the pony. I love the initial silhouette of this too. I do think it's more effective without it, where it's the bodysuit and you can see the green glittery skin underneath all the wraps. I just wish that there had been more to it. I wish there had been more like distressing or aging done to the fabric for the gauze over this whole look, because I think had that been done, it would have really lended to the mummy aesthetic a bit more. It would have looked a little more decrepit, a little more creepy, but it still would have been fashionable had she kept the same silhouette. So I think her biggest problem is that her looks, at least for in this one, not that puking baby we see in an upcoming challenge, but this one, it does feel a little bit too clean. And the way she delivers this is more Drag Race runway than Dragula runway. It's a little too fashion centric versus like a character performance. I get that that's very much her thing. Like this is very true to Aurora's aesthetic, her performance style, the poise and the glamour of it all. I just think that she could have mucked it up a little bit more to really take it all the way there. For me though, it's okay. The look is still good, I just think the character wasn't fully realized. Next up, we have Desiree Dick, who is doing this little Five Nights at Freddy's moment. And did anybody else notice that her showcase in the floor show was incredibly short? Like to the point where it's like, here's the look and there's the next one. Like it felt like such a throwaway thing. I felt like they just didn't really have much to show. It was very clear that she wasn't going to be a primary focus in judging, in my opinion. So I wasn't surprised at all that they just kind of skated by her. I didn't like the headpiece. I didn't like the mask of this. I thought the idea of doing the animatronic thing was cool, but again, I don't think there was enough detail or textile work done to the EVA foam that she's used for this suit to really sell it as this like plastic cased or metal encased animatronic. I just think that it could have just been a little bit more to it. It's not bad. I just think that it could have been taken ever so slightly further. So for me, it's also gonna be an okay. Next up, we have Grey Matter, who's doing a little Leatherface moment. This whole skin apron situation, really immaculately done. The prosthetic where it's got like the brain saw thingy, this like headpiece prosthetic, really freaking cool. And I like that it's almost steampunky. There's something quite fantastical about this whole thing, which I think fits in line really well with Grey's aesthetic. As much as this Leatherface, I could see this being like a horror D&D campaign character, like a sub-boss in a storyline or something. Like it's something really out there, really wacky, and I think it's good. I really enjoyed it a lot. And most of all, it's really freaking creepy. So for me, this is a slay. And then we have Jaharia, who's doing this grayscale creature from the Black Lagoon. And I don't know if it was intentional for her to do the grayscale version because the original film is in black and white, but I, for one, loved this. It was kind of basic, but I loved it. I loved the stoning, I loved the gradients, I loved the details. I wish there had been a little more. Like I wish there had been more scales, I wish there had been more fins, I wish there had been even more to it. I love her take on this. The way she performed it was great. I was really enraptured by it. And again, I'm a sucker for a grayscale gradient. So that's a real easy way to get me on your side with a look. So for me, this was successful. I think this was a slay. For me, at least. Next up, we have Majesty, who gave us a Dracula look, but set in a post-apocalyptic world. The chair was cool. I liked the chair and the prop. I wasn't crazy about like the blood body paint stuff and like all like the scraggly raggly costumey stuff. There's some styling things with the costume that I'm not particularly a fan of. Makeup is great, the hair is great, the teeth are great. I love the idea of it. It's just I don't know, I think it comes down to like a preference thing, but I do appreciate how far into the concept Majesty went with this. For me, it is a slay. Even though it's not necessarily my aesthetic, I think it is very well done. Next up, we have Pi doing the sandworm from Beetlejuice. I think the sandworm itself, fun idea. I don't know if this is how I would have executed it. I thought the critique was pretty valid that outside of when you initially see the face in the mouth of the look. There's not really a place for the idea to go and for the costuming to elevate into the performance. It's like, well, there's the face, that's it. So for me, that's one of the biggest downsides of this. I still enjoy it. I think it's very fun. I think it's very graphic on stage. And I like the makeup. I liked the little mouth inside the mouth. For me, it definitely is middle of the pack, and I'm gonna give it an okay. Then we have Scylla, who is doing this little human centipede moment. And from a fashion costuming perspective, not great for me. I don't really care for it. It's a couple pieces of fabric wrapped around her little body. However, my God, this was disgusting. Absolutely disgusting. I wasn't expecting to see two people do things with scat play. This kind of turned my stomach a little bit. The prosthetic pieces, like the initial silhouette when she first walks in, you see it like from the side or almost behind. I was intrigued. And then I was like, what is this? This is weird. But the prosthetic model stuff is cool. I think when you compare it to some of the other looks, especially the ones that were in the top 3, it felt like a true interpretation of the character through that artist's particular lens. Scylla's look just felt like a really high quality human centipede costume, and then she ate some fake shit out of a fake ass. So for me, this is definitely one of the least impressive looks. I think she really nailed the reference. I wish you would have seen a little bit more of her aesthetic or style within the look as a whole. So for me, it's also just okay. Then we have Severity Stone. This look is definitely the weakest out of the bunch. I think as a concept, great. I think Candyman is such an important figure in terms of a horror icon. That whole story is one that a lot of people should know about. I appreciate it so much as a horror story because it is so fascinating when you get into analysis of it. However, for me, this look is like a coat, a men's shirt, and slacks, and then some wire on the head to be a honeycomb. I just wish there would have been more details brought into this. I wish there would have been like more bees. I wish there would have been some more like wow factor, because when you look at this look, it looks the most, for lack of better words, the most crafty out of all of them. So I think personally for me, she has the character's like kind of energy down compared to Aurora's, who was just like fashion, fashion, fashion. But I think in the look department, it just did not really land for me. But it's also not horrible. So I'm also gonna give it an okay. Next up, we have Vivia the Force, who gave us a pinhead moment. And I do agree with the critiques that there were some detail things that could have been tweaked, like having the scalp not match the face in terms of color. But the scale of this was really cool. I really liked the outfit. I really liked all of the huge pins that were used in the head. I liked the stark white makeup. I actually really liked this look a lot. It was one of my favorite ones out of the ones that were safe. I think out of the safe crew, Vivi, Jaharia, and Grey were the strongest 3. I enjoyed it. I thought it was good, but I do see why it wasn't enough to push it into the top 3. For me, this is a slay. And finally, we have Yuri. Now, this Dracula moment, at first, I loved it. I loved the Bram Stoker take. I loved like the casket idea of being in the casket walking down the runway. I liked the back piece having that velvet lining. I thought it was really cool. I really, really enjoyed it. And then she popped out of it and was a bat with a bang. This back half of this look was a miss, but I loved the makeup. I loved the first look. So it's gonna balance out all together for me and just end up being an okay as well. And with that said, that is everyone from this cast, and it is now time to pick my slay of the day, my favorite look of the week. And I think, hands down, it has to go to Asia Consent. So, Asia's look here far and away was the best one in terms of the interpretation of the look through their drag lens, the nods to the character, and the performance. It hit every single mark, way above the rest of this cast. I can't wait to see what she does next. However, when we put this look up against Grey Matter's look, as much as I think I could do something really fun with this look from Miss Asia, I will say Grey Matter's look is more in my aesthetic wheelhouse of things I like to draw. So Grey's promo look is going to hold that top spot for one more week at the very least. Spoilers tend to be pretty tight-lipped around Dragula, which is always exciting and nice to see, but I cannot wait to find out who goes home next, what the challenge is, and how my mother diva Aurora bounces back from having to swim with sharks. Oh, no. I saw on Twitter she was talking about how it's controversial that she likes candy corn, and my first thought was, is it because it gives her flashbacks to the teeth from this challenge? Does it make her feel at home? Anywho, as always, like I said before, be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and be sure to go out there, y'all. Stay kind, stay queer, and make sure that your day is very slay.